Please join me in welcoming Mr. Wilson Erumebor to the stage. He is a senior research fellow at the Faith Institute, and he will be delivering a micro talk on addressing the multiple taxation challenge in Nigeria. Mr. Wilson Erumebor is also a part of the research team that develops the State of Entrepreneurship Report in Nigeria and also works on the taxation report.
Thank you, Amaka. Good day, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, Chairman, the Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms. I stand on existing protocols. I'm here to talk about multiple taxation, and I will make 3 points. The first is the philosophy of taxation in Nigeria. Basic economics makes it clear that taxation is a tool to generate revenue, redistribute income, stimulate production activities, amongst many other objectives. But in Nigeria, what we see is that besides revenue generation, most of these other goals have been relegated to the bottom. Taxes and how they are collected have become a tool to stifle the growth of businesses, as we've seen in the video. And I can give many examples, but I'll just list one. You know, an oil-producing country like Nigeria, refineries cannot meet local needs, no constant electricity supply to keep the factories running. What did businesses do? They resorted to importing fuel to meet their needs and to sustain production, petrol, diesel, and what have you. And the government deems it fit to even put a VAT charge on diesel. This is besides you not providing all the things that you should do. And in fact, I dare say that if we truly care about supporting businesses, we never should have thought of that policy in the first place. Yes, even though it's suspended, but it's suspended for just 6 months. Suspension is not enough. I think it should be cancelled. Entrepreneurs were already paying the cost of inefficiencies of government, by providing their own power supply. And the government thought that cost is not enough. Let's even add more to it. Talk about all of the activities, of both state and non-state actors who view businesses as a revenue collection point, regardless of whether they grow or not. I think this philosophy must change. The second point is on the challenging tax ecosystem. Entrepreneurs in Nigeria are dealing with too many actors within the tax ecosystem, in addition to the stress of managing their businesses. Regarding tax collection, some state governors are competing with the federal government. Local governments are competing with state government. Non-state actors are competing with both state government and local government. It is difficult to identify who a legitimate tax collector is. Some of the non-state actors claim that they represent the state and local government, while others would collaborate with the government, in one way or the other to collect tax to meet certain revenue targets. This ambiguity endorses the extortion and harassment that entrepreneurs face. In fact, and as Amaka pointed out, in the 2023 State of Entrepreneurship Survey, 80% of entrepreneurs said they do not know the number of taxes they are required to pay. Many businesses have had to shut down, as we've seen in the video, because of this problem of multiple taxes, amongst all the many other issues that businesses are facing. In the last 3 years, as Mr. Chairman rightly pointed out, multiple taxation has ranked among the top 5 challenges that entrepreneurs face, according to the SOE surveys. Our Tax and Levies Act is primitive and specifies the collection of fees for wheelbarrows, bicycles, and carts in this modern century, the 21st century that we're living in. We urgently need to review that act, and I'm glad that Mr. Taiwo Oyedele is here, and I'm sure they would make reforms in that regard. And we need to also streamline the number of taxes. I'll end with this story, and it's my last point. A few days ago, because I get inspiration when I travel and move around, a few days ago, this was on Sunday, I decided to take a road trip from Lagos to Ogun State, near the Idiroko border. And what I saw was hell. It was the typical experiences of the average Nigerian. So many checkpoints, so many stoppages manned by police officers, FRSC, customs. At every stop, the driver would get down, go to the back, and then come back in. I'm like, Oga, what did you just do? I just settled them, or I went to settle Oga. As we moved on, there's another stoppage. And, all of these payments are reflected in the cost and the price of transportation of goods and of persons. And we talk about inflation. It's not just driven by monetary factors. But the question is, who in government is looking at addressing all of these issues? And for the policymakers, it's not just about sitting in the offices and making pronouncements. Go to the streets. Take off your suit and tie. Apologies, Mr. Taiwo. I didn't know you were going to wear a suit and tie today because I prepared this, a few days ago. Go to the street, take off your suit and tie and, see what people are going through. These guys, enter the bus, enter the downfall and see what Nigerians are facing every day. There are so many areas in this country begging for reforms. And we must make sure we implement those reforms. But here's one last interesting observation about that trip I took 2 days ago. The major road leading to that border is in a horrible state. Even though you have big companies, multinationals on the left and on the right, you have one of the biggest churches in Nigeria there, and the road is so bad. The town I visited, most of the towns had no major hospital. All the inner roads are bad. There was no water. Electricity comes occasionally and it's low current, low voltage, as we would typically say. Essentially, these people do not feel the essence and presence of government. They only feel that perhaps 4 years when elections are coming, campaign, and they move away. Pardon me, I'm using Ogun State, but this is reflected across many other states in the country. And interestingly, just like Amaka said, I'll round up soon, 73% of entrepreneurs that we surveyed in this year's report said they are willing to pay more tax, provided that the money is used judiciously. And we asked them, what does judiciously mean? And they said, spend that money on education, healthcare, infrastructure, and meet the needs of citizens and businesses. Not to spend 150 million naira on a car for one person. That is not what judicious use of scarce resources is, especially at a time when 90% of entrepreneurs they said subsidy removal has negatively affected their businesses. And so, the Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, the task is huge for that committee. I think they need to streamline their focus because I see them doing a lot of things that I think focus on the tax, leave ethics. Focus, the tax alone is a big problem for that committee to deal with and collaborate with other government agencies and stakeholders. Nigerians are watching. Nigerians are hoping. Our expectations are so high. We hope that policymakers will talk less but communicate better to deliver the hope of every Nigerian. Thank you.
A round of applause for Mr. Wilson Erumebor, Senior Research Fellow at the Fade Institute, and also a Senior Economist at the Nigerian Economic Summit Group.